Okay, so we're going to make the road that you made, or began to make, but we're going to make it nice and smooth and easily smooth using the mesh roads.
Okay.
So essentially, the method we explained last time about using the height set tool to step down and then smooth it, giving you the width profile, and then you just have to naturally make it as smooth as possible. That's good if you want to make it detailed. It's probably better if you want to make an off-road track to do it that way. But if you want to make a quick, smooth road for a normal road, just to be smooth and flat, and then you can go from there, you can use the mesh road tool. And I can't believe I didn't think about this before. And I want to say thanks to Fgen. I don't know if it's an abbreviation or anything, but it's one of the
Okay.
guys on the BeamNG forum that reminded me that you can use the mesh, the rise terrain to mesh tool with the mesh roads. And I thought, oh, God, spent all that time explaining. I mean, it's good to know that method with the stepping. I thought that was quite good. But yeah, let's lay a mesh road over the top of the road that we made.
Okay.
So before we do, we need to look at the top, at the default width and default depth, a bit like the default width on the decal road.
Okay.
This will give you a default width like the decal road. So just say 10, for instance,
Okay.
or maybe make it 8
Okay.
because it will give a slanted profile on the sides or
All
something
right.
artsy like that. And then default depth, I would just set that to 2.
Two. Okay.
Yeah, but maybe even 1. I mean, yeah, do 2 for instance.
Okay.
And basically, then if
Oops.
you get
Sorry.
a
Sorry.
aerial view of your road,
I did not mean to click.
just press delete key.
Yeah.
If you
There
click
we go.
once, or you can do that, or you can click the select arrow button at the top, but delete's quicker. So yeah, get a nice aerial view of the road, yeah, and then basically just click every, say, 10 feet along the road.
Should I start under or where the car? Or do I need to come?
Wherever
Okay.
it
So we'll
doesn't
just
matter.
say here. Okay. So 10 feet is probably what, about every couple of blocks?
Yeah, every couple of blocks is good. Yeah, it's basically going to give you. You don't have to worry about the AI following these nodes because we're going to delete this road in a minute anyway. So we're literally using it as a mesh to mold the terrain to, and that's as simple as it is. I mean, you can just make um, roads in a flash. Okay, looking good.
And then so what I'm doing is I'm clicking and I'm dragging and clicking and dragging, and then much like we did with the other things, if I double click, that should, yeah, that releases it. Okay.
Dragging without holding.
Oh, yes, yes, good point. Yes. Yeah, when I click and I start to drag, it'll just move itself. I don't have to hold the mouse button down to
Yeah.
drag it. Okay. So we have our little orange snake.
At this point, you could keep this as your road, but it wouldn't give you any variation on smoothing the sides out. I mean, you could work with the terrain to make it look like it met the sides of the road, but it would be a right pain. It would take an unnecessary amount of headache.
Okay.
So if you did want to keep this road in, if you look to the right, underneath the position and rotation, there's
Mm-hmm.
the textures, and there's top 3
Yes.
spheres,
Mm-hmm.
as they say, they're the side, top, and underneath textures. So you could just assign them the asphalt or dirt road texture if you wanted, and just go with that. But
Okay.
I mean, that's not the point of this method, and it's not really. I mean, it would be all right, maybe in some applications, but it's not going to look realistic in any.
Okay.
I don't, unless you had a model surrounding it, something that
Okay.
was designed for it.
Sure.
So what we're going to do, we're not going to give it textures because we're going to delete it in a minute. So go
Okay.
to the terrain editor, the second top tab,
Okay.
and then find the form mesh to terrain tool, which is the top of the 3 at the bottom. It wasn't a very good explanation.
That's good.
Top
I
of the
got you.
3 at the bottom.
Yeah, that's good. I got you. Align with mesh. Okay. So
Yep.
it's this
That's,
little.
that's to bring it upwards into the inside of the mesh.
Okay. So that's the one I want. Okay. Wow, that's huge. Do I need to reduce the
That doesn't matter.
size?
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. All it will do is only affect anything within that brush that is underneath a mesh. So you just basically want it to work 100% constantly.
Okay,
So I mean,
so
pressure's turned down. You could turn the pressure up and just do it quickly, or you could leave it like that and do it slowly. But if you have the pressure turned up, you'll at least know that it's done.
okay,
Definitely.
so real quickly though, like even though I realize we're going to get rid of my mesh road here that we laid down, I mean it's like way above where the ground actually is. So can I actually just I can move that just like I could anything else, right?
Yeah, I mean you can move any of the nodes up or down, side to side, wherever you'd
Can I
like.
can you
But
move
you
the
could also
entire?
just smooth. You could just smooth the edges up so it looked like
Okay.
it was a. Oh yeah, you can move the entire thing. Actually, did not quite know that you could do that. Although I should
Okay.
have assumed so. I just haven't tried to do it yet. But yeah,
Sure,
that
sure.
looks even better now. But yeah,
Okay.
afterwards you can smooth it all in so it looks more natural anyway. But yeah, that
Okay.
looks better like that.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to go back to my terrain editor, and I've got my align with mesh, and then I just click and drag where my road is.
Yep, just all over it. Your pressure's turned down quite low, so it might be worth just
Oh, you want me to
Control Shift and roll it up.
Control Shift up to like I don't know what, like
There we go.
100,
Yep.
100.
Yeah,
All right.
anything. Yeah, 100's ideal because you just
Oh,
basically it just does it instantly.
okay. I see some of it's coming through, some of it's not. So should it all be coming through? Is
That's
that my
fine.
problem?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's normal. It's just where the pixels aren't quite overlapping every
Okay.
vector.
No,
That's the way
and
to do it.
I have no idea.
So it's a vertice, not vector.
How do I know if I'm done? Like I have no idea.
That's
If
it.
it's...
That's good.
Oh,
Just
okay.
make sure you've gone over it once with 100 pressure, then you know
Okay.
it's done. Basically, it
Okay.
has to be.
All right. So
So at this point, you can see on the bend before it goes down the hill, there's some terrain overlapping the top.
yes.
So you can bring that down by using the next tool down, the invert to mesh, or what it's actually called, but the tool below the one you're on.
It just says align with mesh down.
Still align with mesh, but yeah, it's to bring it down from rather than up into.
So I would do this.
So then just go over that.
Oh, that is so cool. And just do the same thing.
Yeah, just go
Yeah.
over the lot, and then
Okay.
even though some of it looks higher than the rest, it is basically it's as in line as it can be given the pixel resolution. So
Okay.
once you delete the
Oh,
mesh
that's
road now
cool.
from the object editor, you will have a
Okay.
nice smooth road.
So
And
I'm
how
going.
much quicker was that than the method I told you last year?
I'm gonna
As
I'm
it
gonna
seems
go
like
with
last year.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go with way quicker.
Sorry.
Okay, so object editor, and I'm going to then in my mission group I have my mesh road, and now I can delete my mesh road, and now oh my gosh, yes, that is wow. Look at
So
that.
to go, you could go from this way, having it dead
Oh.
smooth, into being rough, or you can go from it being too rough into being as sort of smooth as you want compared to. You can go from one end or the other, is what I mean.
Sure. Oh, that is very cool. Okay, so now we need to we gotta try this bad boy out, right? So let me do this, and I know my my car is like up from the depths. Oh, actually, I should have. Yeah, I should have come back a little further. That's okay. Here, whoops, sorry. Let's just. Oh, okay, well, great. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna make a mess of my car. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
You made me choke on my vape.
Sorry.
Just rip the wing mirror off there.
Oh yeah, this is so much smoother than what we were doing. That is so cool. Till we get to
And
the end. But
you can still go over it with the smoothing tool, and it will get smoother.
oh, that is so very cool.
And obviously, you can do the sides, and from there you can put in holes and things.
Get up
But,
there,
we
man.
can explain that quickly if you like, since somebody just asked about that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
I mean, it's not fancy and it's not particularly good, but it sort of emulates it. So if you wanted a proper pothole, you would have to be using not I don't even think a mesh road. You'd have to make a model of a piece of road that has a pothole modeled into it, because a pothole is normally just a layer of tarmac ripped up, exposing the old layer of tarmac, or several on through that. But usually it's just one layer or two layers,
Okay.
or it could be a small manhole cover or access point that's sunk, and it will be sort of like a like an inverted umbrella going down into the floor. We
Okay.
get a lot of those in England, I can tell you, crikey. But so the way to do that without sort of making models and importing them. I mean, that'd be really cool, actually. Imagine being a modder for potholes and small little details. I don't know. So you could do it with the terrain with using the node grabber, but all you're doing is pulling one point of the mesh of the floor inwards. So you could make potholes by just you'd have to bring your size of your brush right down to 1 as well, so like the lowest setting, and then using the top tool on the terrain editor, the node grabber, yeah, you could just grab one piece and just lower it slightly. I mean, that's the best you could really, well, best I could think of. I mean, just doing it just slightly, I mean, that'd be way too deep, really. I mean, you could use that on a dirt road, I guess, but I mean, you can emulate bumps by just slightly adjusting bits in a sort of diagonal fashion. But other than that, I mean, it's potholes. I mean, you'd have to model them.
Yeah, well, and even on size 1, I mean that's a significant sized pothole, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you had
Holy
a
cow!
higher resolution terrain, say when you imported your height map, you wanted it to be at 0.5 meters per pixel or 0.1 meters per pixel, then you'd have a lot
That's okay.
more variety. Sure. You'd have way more points that you could grab, basically. So,
Okay.
and that circle at size 1 would be tiny. The brush size is relevant to the resolution of the terrain size.
Sure.
If we had a 4 meters per pixel terrain here, then that would be 4 times bigger. At 1 point, it would be 4 times bigger of a circle of a brush because it doesn't need to be any smaller. It's the smallest resolution it can do.
Okay. All right. So that's one way we can make a pothole. Basically, grab your node and then push down to create the little to create the sink. You know, it's hard to tell a little bit, but
cheap way of doing it.
Okay, so that's one way.
Okay, cool. So let's do rivers. I would just use the lower terrain tool and just dig out a gouge in the floor.
Yep, works for me. So we're going to lower the terrain here, and I guess I could do size. Oh no, size 1. That's I don't know what sizes are rivers generally.
Just about size 10 and quite high pressure.
Okay, so 10.
And just gouge. It doesn't need to be neat. Just an area that would be.
All right, so we're gonna make this little river type thing here. You're like, don't do all that. What are you, crazy, man? Okay.
Yeah, well, it's going down a steep hill, so it might not look well. It won't lay right for a start because it lays flat. I mean, you can make it go down hills. I suppose, yeah, that's a good example. We'll start on the flat bit at the bottom there. Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So we want to look at that bit. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if you select the river tool, which is the third from last top tab.
Okay. So the river tool looks like, well, I don't know, looks like a little twisty
road with
thing.
a
road with a teardrop or something. Okay. Yeah, with water. There you go.
Yeah. Perspirative.
Everybody watching's like, it looks like a river, dude. Just it's a river. Okay.
Okay. So again, we need to look at our default width and default depth.
Okay.
What brush size did you use to gouge all that out? Was it 10?
10, yeah, I used 10.
So if we go for a size 11 or size 12,
okay,
it will ensure that the whole way through that, well, apart from the bits where you went a bit wider, we can adjust that as we go. It will make it a good enough width to start with. So, and depth, I would say, what's it say? Well, I can't quite read it on the stream. 10. Yeah, just try that for now.
Okay.
So if you click, literally, say, if you can see the sort of direction of the river as it comes round to that stop point that we're looking at, if you click in the middle of where the river would be when it gets to that stop.
Like down here at the end?
Yeah, right at the end. So the middle point at the, say, sort of almost all the way up the slope there. See where the cross is? Bit down.
Yeah, kind of like this.
Not that cross, the one below.
This one here.
To the right.
This one here.
That one, yeah. That I would say is a good middle point to start. And then, yeah, once you click that, you can then basically click the middle point of the flow of the river, the center of the river up as if it was a road. I mean, the tool is basically based on the road editor. At this point, really, I should make it clear that the floor of the river needs to be flat because the nodes will be placed and there will be 10 meters or pixels above wherever you place them. So currently the river's going up and down, up and down. But
Gotcha.
at least I
Okay.
think it is. I think it is. Might be wrong. Yeah, it is. I can see it is. But yeah, that's how you would lay a river. You can adjust it all with the node movement afterwards as much as you
Whoops.
like, sort of thing.
And I guess this is kind of like the road in that you pretty much want a bird's eye view.
Yeah, it does help. And then you can just fine tune it from there, go over each section. And remember, with any tool like this, it's good to keep the nodes the same distance apart from each other. Sort of plan ahead your curvature,
Okay.
especially when it comes to AI roads. That's the most fundamental part of that being important. And not to mention, sometimes it can make the textures go all to like horribleness. You get sketchy bits missing of textures and bits where it's the color of the texture but not the texture, and just like, why isn't it working? Yeah, you
So
have to be quite courteous with them.
again,
Unlike
ideally,
David is.
yes, I was just going to say, ideally, you would take your time and put the nodes where they needed to be. I'm rushing through this like a doof.
He wants to get to scenarios.
So, okay, so we have our river, as it were, and yes, you are right. You can see where the water is kind of following the bottom of the riverbed there. So the water itself is wavy.
Yeah, I was a bit too late to say, wasn't I?
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's one of those things we just kind of learn as we go.
Ideally, for a realistic looking river, you should have it on a dead flat area, because a river on the side of a hill is only going to be quarter of a foot thick, isn't it? Because it's just flowing over rocks.
Right.
It's
right.
not going to have any built flow. So when you put a river in, you'd put it on a flat area, and then you would have the set height tool, and you would lay the bed of the river so that it was all the same height. Then you put the river in, and then from there, if you wanted to change its gradient at all, you'd work with it and spend a long time doing it. I've never really actually properly worked with rivers, not really. I mean, I've added them into some of my levels, but I've not put time into really making them look good.
Sure.
The off-road trials map that my friend Matt did, he did quite a bit with the rivers in there. I mean, it looked pretty decent after a while. I mean, he's the sort of guy who will just sit and fiddle and fiddle and fiddle and make it look really bad, make it look a bit better, make it look even worse, and then eventually he'll come out with it looking amazing. You're like, oh wow, he's definitely that sort of guy. But yeah, at this point, I would, if you were working on a project, recommend deleting it and just starting again. Now you've got the flatbed.
Right. Yeah. Now that I've gone back,
Because now it'll place it flat.
Sure, that makes sense.
But yeah, sorry to rush it, guys, but you can see what we mean.
Well,
You
it's
can
just
move the nodes
right, and we're just giving you the general idea as to how you would place a river. So I am curious. Do you know what the different colors are? Like, there's these red
Yeah,
bits.
sure. If you go to the right-hand side and scroll down, you'll find a number of properties for water, rivers and seaplanes. I mean, you can change the waves, the thickness of the water when you drive into it. You can change the texture of the ripples, the normal maps. You can change all sorts of stuff. The flow, the wind. It's very, very diverse. I mean, most of the properties are quite self-explanatory, and it's the sort of thing you can just fiddle with and play with to your heart's content.
And so, like, I've got this red bit right here in this corner. I don't know what that means. Does that mean?
Yeah, that's where the river isn't wide enough to cover the terrain, I believe.
Oh, okay. I see. And then
So you'd have to raise the terrain up there, or move it out, or increase the width. If you look,
Sure.
if you have
Okay.
a node selected like that, you can see at the right-hand side above the properties, there's width and depth, and you can change it right there. So you can change the width to double that, and it should cover that whole area. You don't have to worry if your river covers too much, unless the hill goes downwards and it pokes through.
Ah, yes. So then at that point, in terms of fine tuning, it's a matter of figuring out which point is actually dealing with whatever is causing that particular effect. So
Yes,
again, if I go over
absolutely.
here and I change that to 22, now I have effectively pushed the water into the terrain. In fact, so much so that you can see it actually creeping up here where this little red dot is. So again, that's one of those things I could just fix as we needed to go. And then green, I'm assuming, is depth. So I have a depth problem here, which
I think so, yeah.
Again is going to go to the fact that I didn't start with a flat bed for the river. So just for the sake of argument, just because I'm a glutton for punishment more than anything, I'm going to, so if we grab this and then, would I use the flatten tool? Or no, I guess I would use the lower tool first to make my river, right? And then I would flatten it out. Or no, I should have just used flatten to start with. I probably should just use flatten to start with. And call it good.
Stream's trying to catch up. Bad connection right now.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well,
yeah, everything's just really fuzzy.
Okay.
Oh, I can see now. Yeah, sort of.
So if we go in here to the river,
this must be like 80p.
And we do this, and I apologize, folks. We're having some connection issues, but I'm walking through this as we go. So hopefully, HighDef will be able to eventually catch up with what we're doing here. But if I have this right, then I should be able to start here in the middle, and then just kind of.
You may have seen 144p on YouTube. This is like 40p on my screen right now. It's awful.
Oops,
getting a whole 0.2 frames per second.
Woohoo! Goodness. All right, so this is me laying a river, and again, he just disconnected. So obviously my connection has dropped him out. So maybe we can we'll get him back to help with this. But in the meantime, as you can see, I would obviously have to make some adjustments in terms of height. And to do that, I would go, I'm still in the river editor, and I go to the node move point, and then I can raise and lower as I need to the river itself. Or as he had mentioned, I could change the width here. So maybe 11 is too big. So maybe we do 9. I don't know, I'm guessing. Nope, that's actually kind of the, well, I see part of my problem is that the terrain next to this river is having a problem. So I could go to the terrain editor, and we could raise the terrain, and we could lift this up some. Now this is going to get a little weird because I'm intentionally using a pressure and a size that is much, much too big for what we need to be doing. But it's the general idea of what we're doing, right? So now if I go back to the river tool, well, that one's still, wow. Okay. Bossing me around, hoser. All right. So once again, I can come over here and I can keep raising this up. I mean, I know it's a little weird. And for all I know, this is not actually solving my problem. Yeah, actually it did solve the problem. So there you go. And again, I can push my nodes as I need to. So I can push those out. You see what's happening there? I'm pushing my points into the wall so that you don't see the problem with the river. And this is also where having more nodes would definitely come in handy, because the more nodes you have, the more control you're going to have over what's happening with your river, especially in the sides, right? So we definitely have some issues here. And as you can see, I'm actually pulling this. So really, fixing this would be better with something like a 15 width, maybe. There you go. All right. So we're using all these different tools in order to put in and change the width of the river, what it looks like, how it goes. So that's pretty cool. So, and I don't know what happened here. We got all kinds of weird stuff. Well, I do see, evidently I missed a node somewhere in here. So I could probably just go in here and I could probably just delete that node. There. And that kind of smooth things out. So don't be afraid to do that sometimes, by the way. You know, if you have a node that's acting weird, don't be afraid to delete it. Although what's weird is I don't see a node here. That's interesting. There's not one there. I don't know what's going on with that. Huh, strange. But anyway, okay. So there is putting in a river. So, all right.